97.1 FM Talk. On demand audio.
Sue's not in the studio here, but she always takes a walk in Forest Park, and tonight is the night that she's taking a walk in Forest Park. And I have not been over there to see the devastation. Obviously, I've seen some video and some pictures. Elliot Davis is here, retired Fox 2 investigative reporter. He's doing great work, independent journalism on Facebook and elsewhere. We're going to talk a little bit about the aftermath of the tornado, and it's just devastating for so many people. I haven't seen, Elliot, a lot of the visual damage myself because I live in a part of West St. Louis County that does not have or didn't have a lot of damage, but this is really putting the hurt on a lot of people. And you've been out there one-on-one talking to some of the victims. I know that. How are you this afternoon?
Good. I've been out there every day.
Yeah.
I think I retired at the right time, and that allows me to be able to be out there almost from morning till the evening, covering various stories. I mean, even though I cover the officials like the mayor's news conference, I've focused a lot of my time on being out there in the community with the people, talking to people whose home has been leveled. We talked to one lady, for example, who pitched a tent next to her destroyed home. Her house was just no more than just a lot of bricks, basically, and she pitched a tent because it was her property, and that's where she wanted to live. We were able to get her some help in her situation. She hadn't seen any city officials come by there to check on her. She needed a porta potty, elderly lady, but she needed some help, and it was a real challenge. And that's the whole thing that a lot of these people are saying who their homes have been destroyed. Many of them, a lot of them have dealt with a lot of damage, but they say they have not seen city officials out there to talk to them. In fairness, the city has been very active from night one of the storm. They were out there, first responders were, but their primary mission in the beginning was trying to save lives, trying to save people who may be buried under the rubble.
So I have a niece who lives here in St. Louis. She's got a boyfriend. They live in separate apartments, and the boyfriend's apartment was pretty much flattened. And, you know, he talked to his landlord, I think, in the immediate aftermath of the storm. And here we are a couple weeks later, and there's no communication with the landlord. Now, I bring that up because he is able to stay with my niece. And that's a good thing for him, right? And Jeff Rainford was on my show last week. He had to stay at some friends' homes as well. So there's that part of the situation where some people have friends, they have family members, they have resources. But there's a whole hell of a lot of people that you've been talking to out there. They don't have that. That kind of goes to the issue of pitching the tent, right? What do? They don't have anything else they can do at this point.
It's a challenging situation. Today, for example, the Board of Aldermen held an emergency meeting. At that meeting, they started the process of passing a bill to give some help to some tenants paying first month's rent, last month's rent, and others who may not be forced out of their homes. It would give them, I think it would pay rents of something of between $500 and about $900. That's what the bill sponsor, Rasheen Aldridge, told me. And so that would help them to a limited extent, but the fund only has $160,000 in it, and so they're really limited on the number of people that they can help. I think 5,000 buildings were damaged in this whole thing, and so a lot of them obviously people can't live in. And so one of the real questions is trying to figure out, how do you help these people? A lot of these people, they're just they're in survival mode. Many don't have a house. Many are staying other places. But many, even their relatives, didn't have resources. And so you have people who are trying to stay with other people, and even though they didn't have that kind of tornado damage, they're still poor and struggling. One of the things that I've been pushing, and I've been doing, talk to all of it about it, talk to the mayor about it. What about using the Rams settlement money?
That's what I was going to ask you about, yeah.
They have $290 million in that Ram settlement money. And I said, well, why can't you give the people who've lost homes or people who can't get in their homes, a $2,000 stipend just to help them survive? The answer I get is that we're studying it. We're looking. Everything is on the table. I asked the mayor, and today I asked the alderman at their meeting about that same question. So they've got the two bills, one, a bill to give them something, and it would also freeze property taxes, I think. But the big thing is that, what about this Rams money? It's not been spent. It's just been sitting in the bank, $290 million. If you're not going to use some of it now, then when? Carve out 2 or 3 $2 or $3 million to help these people. It can go a long way to helping these people survive. I don't know if they're going to do it or not.
But it's one of those issues. Let's take the tornado out of it, because we've talked a lot about that Ram settlement money up until the point of this tornado. It's baffling that in the aftermath of this, we can't, unfortunately, and we can get to the Siren issue here. And one of the things that I tweeted out a couple of weeks ago, we can't, get 911 calls answered. We can't get trash picked up, right? We know what happened during the snowstorm. And now we can't press a damn button to tell people that a tornado is coming. And sorry, for me, that represents so much, sadly, about what this city has become. Now, I'm not tagging Cara with any of this. She's a new mayor that's got a lot on her plate, and I think she's doing an okay job right now based on what I know. But there were a lot of things that built up to this that the Board of Aldermen won't accept any responsibility for and could have at least gotten ahead of. I'm not talking about tornado damage. I'm just talking about everything else.
Well, you wonder, how do we get in such a situation like this at SEMA, where what Cara Spencer found out, Mayor Spencer found out in her investigation, was there was not correct protocol on who was supposed to push the button and when stuff was supposed to happen. And so the director of SEMA and her staff were at a workshop the day of the storm. They're at a workshop, right, when there are all kinds of storm warnings out. Now, how does that figure? How do you do that, right? Big storm's coming. Well, let's have a workshop.
Well, not only a workshop, and you and I could either agree or disagree on this, but I would say it was a woke workshop. And in some of the wording from the website, that Joe Hallman exposed, just makes you say, are you kidding me that that's where they were when this happened?
That's when they were when it happened. And it points to the lack of urgency at SEMA. They have to know the system, the protocol hadn't been completed, that there were gaps in the system. They had to know that, but didn't correct it, didn't do everything that was necessary. So we'd have an absolutely flawless as can be when trouble struck. We knew it was coming. That's the thing about it. It was a matter of pushing a button. Well, they had two buttons, one in SEMA, one at the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
One at the fire department didn't work. But in SEMA, you would have thought, we know a storm is coming. Let's make sure we are there. One thing that I would say that if there is a bright light on this whole thing is how the community has come together. I've been over in North St. Louis to all these areas where the heaviest damage is. You have residents who will take it upon themselves to go to Walmart or Sam's or someplace else and get water and toiletries and everything just to stand on the street corner and give it out to folks. And so you have that happening all over in neighborhoods that normally are known for just trouble and violence and all those kinds of things. But you've had in these same neighborhoods people just coming out. I was driving down the street, I think it was West Florissant, and they had on every corner somebody giving out stuff, somebody helping. And this is what has really kept these tornado sufferers going. People who have lost their homes have been damaged. This is really what's kept them going, is getting that generosity of their north side neighbors, and people have come from the outside, but predominantly it's been the people from North St. Louis that has come out. All kinds of just folk. I was at Peter and Paul Community Services together. It's a big homeless shelter. They are taking in 100 people who lost their homes or homes are severely damaged. And I went over there. I interviewed one of the people who was over there. But let me mention this, by the way. They're having a big fundraiser, and anybody who wants to donate can go to Peter and Paul STL, and they'll get all the information on it. But you have so many people. The Urban League, Mike McMillan, they had a huge food giveaway. 3,000 people were fed, right? They get boxes of food, toiletries, everything to last them. And that was held on this Saturday. They're going to do it every Saturday for 4 Saturdays. Hope Nation International Church, they've been having cooking dinners every single day, giving away a lot of items across from apartment buildings that everybody was thrown out of, couldn't go to their homes and had to go to a shelter. So many St. Louisans are stepping forward to deal with this that has been the worst disaster, one of the worst disasters in the city's history.
Doesn't it kind of, one of the things I'm disappointed in, and you know the news business, and you know better than I do probably, but we did not get hardly any national attention on this disaster. I mean, some of it came because of the Siren, fiasco, but we just didn't get a lot of focus. I'm going to have the Red Cross on tomorrow. That kind of hurts us when it comes to people, because people in this country are generous. We've helped out here in St. Louis when there's been hurricanes in North Carolina or in Florida. People would want to help, but man, we did not get on the map for this terrible, terrible tornado.
Pretty much, I can't explain it. I think obviously St. Louis is a major city. How often does a tornado touch down in a major city like this? So I really can't understand why it didn't happen. It hit in a poor area. I don't know if that was a factor. It hit in a pretty poor African-American area. Was that a factor? I don't know. Could it have been? Possibly. But I do not know why it didn't get the coverage. Now, the same tornado could have hit in some other areas and have gotten all kinds of coverage.
Yeah. How do you think Mayor Spencer is doing, either inside of this or outside of this? Only a month on the job, though.
Okay. You know me, I came on the radio a number of times before this disaster hit, and I was pretty much slamming Mayor Spencer about law enforcement, about many other things. I was slamming her about being a progressive. I think Mayor Spencer has done a good job. I think she's done a top-flight job. I think that people often are born for a moment in life. This may be hers. She seems to have risen to the challenge. Just, for example, the FEMA director, when the Siren screw-up happened, she wasted no time in suspending that person from the job. She has been out there in the community, walking around, checking on what she could and having a news conference every day so that we in the media can ask her questions about any issue, every issue, whether it was the FEMA money, the National Guard, and when the money was going to get to people. Every issue, she's been there. She's been talking about it. She hasn't dodged questions like this. She handled the Siren issue, for example. And She says, even though it did not happen on her watch, what impressed me is she says, I accept responsibility. And it didn't even happen on her watch. It happened on the last person.
Right. Well, Sue and I had talked about this because one of the things that I said, and I like Cara personally, and, she's been on the show a few times, but I didn't know if she would have, this word gravitas is used or really prove herself as a leader. And I'm with you. I think she has stepped up, and she's really done a good job in a very emotional situation and in a tough situation. So this has certainly been a test.
A month on the job.
Right.
Don't forget that.
Well, I know. So she's been tested more than probably a lot of mayors would ever be tested in a month on a job. But I think she's doing well, and I think she has support to solve some problems. Look, honestly, I'm more worried about the BOA because that's where I think things get kooky.
How about the Board of Aldermen?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. They like I said, they had an emergency meeting today. I was there, of course. And the emergency meeting was taking up these two measures. I think they could have done more. I mean, they're saying, okay, we're going to give people this money, renters, this money, and some other people can apply it, but it's only $160,000 in the fund. Well, the need is going to be much greater than that. And so is this all you can do? Is come up with something with a fund of $160,000. To his credit, Alderman Rasheen Aldridge says they're going to ask Mayor Spencer to kick $1 million more into that fund to make it $1,160,000. So that's a little bit more promising. And I would have said, well, why don't you guys do all this from the start? And the other is that, well, we're going to help try to give you a break on property taxes. My view would have been, guys, we got $290 million in the Rams fund sitting there doing nothing. Why don't we carve out $10 million of it to help people in this situation? And help people with hotels or give cash stipends or whatever we can do. We can carve out $10 million. You can go a long, long way. But nobody's doing anything like that yet. And they're saying, well, we're going to get to that. People are struggling.
People need help now. They need help now, right?
They really do every single day.
Elliot, keep on them and guide people in. I follow you on Facebook. Is that the best place to find the content these days?
That's the best. Yeah. Or you can just call me on the phone.
Well, I know
on my cell phone. So there we go.
Elliot Davis TV on Facebook. Thank you, Elliot. Always great.
Thank you,
I
buddy.
appreciate it.